All right. Give everybody just a few seconds to get in. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the very first episode of the Success Playbook. I am your host, Corey Hastings, and we'll be coming to you live each and every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern, right on this channel. First, if you're new here tonight, go ahead and push that subscribe button. But if you're here tonight, I appreciate you. This is something that I've been wanting to build for a really long time, a space for honest conversations about growth, pressure, what success really looks like, mindset, and just everything in between. But like I said, my name is Corey Hastings. I'm a business owner. I'm a real estate broker. I'm a former athlete. I'm a leader. And like most of you, someone who's willing to still learn, still build, and figure out things in real time. Tonight isn't about the hype or anything whatsoever like that. It's about sharing real lessons about experiences that's worked, that's failed, and everything in between. And I kind of wish I would have had somebody like this or a portal like this to go to when I was coming out of high school or college at 21, 22, with really no direction of what I wanted to accomplish. But 2025 was a year of reflection for me, a year of challenges, changes, clarity, growth, both personally and professionally. So I wanted to create this safe space, but also live format so all of us can talk through whatever realm or whatever decisions we're going to be making in the near future. But this is a Q&A, so drop questions in the chat from business, leadership, mindset, money, stress, motivation, and everything in between. Wherever you're navigating right now, wherever you are in your world, from professional to business, I want to be able to help you and hopefully create a shortcut for you to kind of create those mini wins. So if you see me looking over here, it's going to be, I'm going to be checking all the chat so that you guys can see and we can live interact. But first things first, this is a Q&A, so you guys are going to be required to submit questions. First things first is I want to know where you guys are listening from. If you guys can tap in and you guys can write inside the chat the city that you're listening from, that'll be awesome and good to know. I am coming to you live from Jacksonville Beach, Florida, where I'm so excited to be here today and just be able to really showcase this platform for you. This has been months and months and months of working on this and loading on this. And as you can see, our new build out here inside of my office. But first things first, let's talk about just who I am. If you guys are new here and you guys have no idea why am I listening to this guy talk about business or success, like I said numerous times already, my name is Corey Hastings. I am a real estate broker here in Northeast Florida. I have been leading my brokerage through one of the largest real estate transitions, what we call a conversion, in real estate history over the last 4 months. For those of you guys who have no idea what a real estate conversion is, it's whenever you are formerly with one company and you fully convert over to another company, kind of in the middle of the night almost, it seems like. But we have one of the largest operations in the entire country. Real Trends Media is a very respected magazine that ranks each and every one of the 88,000 real estate brokerages in North America each and every year. Listed our brokerage 314th largest for sales volume in 2024. So when we went through this transition, it was massive. We had 6 office locations. We had 150 agents. We had 16 full-time employees. And so we had to juggle so much to go through. And the hard thing about it is, we spent months and months and months leading up to the transition. Then we went through the transition. And then now we've spent the last 3 months trying to work out the kinks of what did we mess up, or what did we forget, or what do we want to grow into, or just kind of learning all the new technology, all the new terminology, everything that we had to go through. So those of you guys who are in a transition of your career, when it calls to, maybe you're changing a job, or maybe you're transitioning a school, or maybe you're doing anything that you could think of, I've been there. Especially in the last few months, I know exactly what you're going through. So we are going to talk about transition. We are going to talk about mindset, staying motivated, really all of that stuff today. So if you guys have questions about a specific thing that you're talking about or whatever, like I've said numerous times, put them in the chat so that we can get to. Obviously, great to see my Charlotte friends, my Cincinnati friends, obviously the Lebanon, Tennessee. Great to see you guys in the chat. So thank you guys for that. But now I know a lot of you guys have been following my channel from the very beginning that we launched this just a few months ago. And I just want to tell you, thank you for all the support. I mean, we grew literally from 0 to over 8,000 subscribers in 2.5 months. And we've been able to launch all of these exciting things coming. But I want you guys to know that we have even more exciting things coming with more behind the scenes, vlogs, luxury property tours, And yes, even the much appreciated or anticipated the Success Playbook podcast coming in January. We've already booked our first 2 guests in the month of January. So that's going to be so exciting for you guys to see. And I just can't wait. We actually start filming our first guest next week, which is really exciting. So I can't wait to release those to you guys at the end of January this time. But as if you guys have been following our channel for the last couple of weeks, we did a holiday $100 gift card giveaway just last week for Christmas, and it was absolutely chaos. So I want to thank you guys for participating in that, but also there's been a lot of you guys who have submitted me questions leading up to this Q&A, but also there's been a lot of you guys who have direct messaged me, commented, all these things. So I have those in front of me, so we will be getting to those today, but if you want to put them in the chat, you're more than welcome to as we move forward. But I do have a lot of them, like I said, in front of me. But I want to harp on a little bit of the transition itself. So if you guys have been following my channel, there's a whole entire behind the scenes. I think we have 9 episodes of starting from 30 days before the transition to all the way until I think it's 60 days after the transition and everything in between. And you're going to see the good, the bad, the things we messed up, the things that we could have done differently, the things that I wanted you guys to see, because there was truly 10,000 hours of work that was going on that really nobody could ever see. And I started telling my friends and family about a lot of these things that we were going through and we were facing. And it's almost kind of like they didn't believe me, right? Because it's like, oh yeah, sure, whatever, no big deal, whatever. But there was a lot. And so there was a lot of times where through that transition, probably our entire team, but especially me, you start to almost kind of second guess of like, did I make this right transition? Is this going to work out the way that I thought it was going to, right? And I will tell you that 2025, if it's taught me anything, it's that reflection and mindset is so important. And 2025, like I've said numerous times, professionally and personally for me, was all about growth and trying to evolve to be better. And there was a lot of good that happened. There was a lot of bad that happened, but it's been a lot to navigate. And so if you guys are looking for somebody to look to on clarity for questions, or hey, should you do this, or what are you facing? Trust me, I've been there. And it's not only overwhelming at times, but it can be very your mental health starts to kind of begin to question. So I encourage you guys that through the next today and tomorrow, as we capitalize on the last 2 days of 2025, we get into 2026, everything as you're going to hear from our channel is going to be mindset, and being able to seek those new opportunities that you guys are going to be facing. We go here. But let's go ahead and get to our first question. To someone that may be thinking about just getting into real estate, what is the number one piece of advice? Oh, that's a great question. If I have people in watching right now or on the live stream that are looking into getting into real estate, I think this is going to be a great channel for you, because we're going to tell you the good, bad, and ugly of the real estate industry, both on the broker side, but also the agent side. But the one thing I would tell you right now, I think it really depends on where you're at in your situation. So, are you in your second career and you want to transition into real estate because maybe you want to make your own schedule, or maybe you have a lot of friends, family that live close and you've always kind of wanted to be passionate about real estate? Or are you kind of what we call the new agent now, where you're graduating college with a real estate degree and you want to go and you want to navigate real estate? So I think you have to understand where you are in your life first before I can really start to tell you your first step. But everything in real estate, you will always hear me say, stems from education. You have to understand the market, the forms, the rules, the ethics. I mean, everything. So many people watch HGTV, or so many people watch Owning Manhattan with Ryan Serhant, or one of those TV shows, and you think, oh man, this looks easy, right? Anybody could do this. You fall in love with the commissions that they show you that they're getting, not actually the realness of that process. So I can assure you, number one, it is not like you see on TV. I don't care what TV show you're watching. I don't care what you're looking at. Real estate industry is nothing like that. So if you think it is, I would say you're very, very wrong on that. But you have to seek education, because you have to understand that your buyers and your sellers right now it's a very difficult market for them to navigate. And they are trusting you to either purchase or sell their largest asset, more than likely, in their entire life. And why are they trusting you over the other 1.2 million realtors inside the United States, or whatever that number is going to grow to now, right? Obviously, I think the total agent count has gone down a little bit over the last 18 months just because it spiked so high during COVID. But that's a whole different conversation for everything. But everything stems from education. And if you're a new agent and maybe you are looking at getting licensed, or maybe you just got licensed, or maybe you've been licensed for a year and you haven't really got that much traction for it, the number one piece of advice that I would give you as a top real estate broker in the United States is find a market leader in your market. So somebody that you either inspire to be, somebody who either does a great sales volume number, or maybe someone in your office, and follow them and work for free for them for 6 months. And I know people hear the word free and they think, I just can't do that. There's no way that's going to happen. I can't do this, right? Hold on. Work for free doesn't mean that you're hopefully not getting paid. It just means that you're following them and you're working with them every single day. You're not going into it with any expectations. Now, and I tell you this because the number one thing that I think the biggest difference when it comes to a top producer in a market versus a brand new agent in the market is the brand new agent just doesn't know what they don't know, right? You have no idea. And I don't care if you've watched every single TV show. I don't care if you've aced your real estate exam. I don't care what. Every single transaction in a real estate industry is so different. And you will learn more listening and just gravitating towards that top producer of how they handle objections, how they handle conversations, how they market themselves, how they sell. Because it's not the same as selling like a pair of shoes as you're selling a house or selling yourself to list that house. But that top producer has been doing it so much that it's almost kind of hard for them sometimes to teach how they do it because it comes so natural to them. So if you're somebody, like I said, who is inspiring to be a new agent, or you're looking at trying to get that next sale or whatever else, find a mentor or find a top agent in your market or in your office and seek them out. Because I can guarantee you, if they're as big as probably they are, they need the help, right? They need help with open houses. They need help with buyers. They need help with paperwork or whatever. And I actually just did a vlog about this today. It's going to drop hopefully tomorrow, where I'm a huge believer that people should be seeking opportunity, not necessarily seeking their dreams. And I'm not saying that dreams are bad to have, but by all means, I mean, we have to have dreams, we have to have goals, but in life, we have to be ready for those opportunities. And an opportunity could walk in and say, hey, Corey, can you hold this open house for me? Hey, Corey, can you do this for me? Those are opportunities. You may not see it right then in that time, but if you do that enough and you learn from that person enough, you will be more successful. I promise you that. But that was a great first question. Let's go ahead and go to the next question. What's your advice for someone who's selling a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, moving to Jacksonville? I would say, Tyler Socia 69, I would say you should probably put it on the market and get moving down here right away. That'd be a great thing. Next question. Who would be the ultimate person to interview and why? So I've actually had this question a ton, which is really, really cool. A lot of people have been really tapping in and trying to see like, hey, Corey, who is one person you would love to get on the podcast and why? I feel like I've had that question at least 10 times since I've announced we're doing the podcast. And for me, every single time, it's actually Dana White. I would love to have Dana White on the podcast, not just because of who he is or what he is or whatever, but I just think he's one of the realest people really in the world. Like as far as how famous he is, how rich he is, what he does and how he carries himself, both, with his friends and what I hear he does on podcasts and different things, but also just how he carries the UFC, how he navigates the political world, how he navigates, everything that he does, from sponsors to go into this, go into that. I would absolutely love to sit down for an hour with Dana White, and I would love to be able to get him just to tell us how he got successful, because the premise of my podcast is all going to be built around successful people telling us the playbook of how they got successful. And my biggest thing is I do not want to be a real estate show. I do not want to be somebody who's pigeonholed into only interviewing real estate individuals. I want to interview just successful people in every single genre of business. It could be music, it could be development, it could be restaurants, it could be art, it could be everything that we want to do. Because what I want to do is, why somebody is successful in this field. If you are watching and in that field, I want you to be able to look at those people and say, I want to follow that playbook. But also, I want to know just selfishly, as a business leader myself, I want to know the different things that they're doing in their field, but also maybe potentially not doing, right? What is their biggest lesson that they've learned? What is the biggest mistake they've made? Because I know we all see like all the awards and all these other things, but I promise you, I don't care who they are. Every single business leader makes mistakes every single day. But how do they navigate that, and how do they overcome that? But also, depending on who they are and where they are in the world, like how do they navigate what's going on in the economic climate? How do they do with political climate? So that's my goal with the podcast. Like I said, we already have our first two guests booked, which are really exciting. We have two different genres that I think are being really, really tied into, obviously, a lot of you guys in the subscriber pool. So I'm really excited to see that. So great question there. Continue to pipe the questions in. Obviously, I would love to get as many questions as I could to you guys tonight. We're going to be here for about an hour, so we have about 45 minutes left. But one of the questions that came in on one of the shorts that I posted was actually from Star 6105. He pretty much said, right now he's becoming more and more to a point where he feels like it never ends. And how does he balance trying to continue to meet his goals, but also continuing to try to take care of his mental health, which is a great point. Mental health and goals, I don't think people truly understand the correlation until you're really in that. And to be honest with you, they go hand in hand, because if you are truly striving for a goal, you're probably going to miss that goal 2 or 3 times before you achieve it, right? And so how do you handle not achieving that goal? How do you handle the objections? How do you handle the obstacles? But also mental health as well. How do you handle the success? Because that's something that a lot of successful people struggle with, because some of the most successful people that I've met are not always obsessed with the result. They're obsessed with the process of obtaining the result. And I think that's something that takes a lot of time to master, because, we work so hard in every single day to go in and achieve this goal, whatever that goal may be for you and whatever it may be. But if you work the entire year to hit your quota, or you work the entire year to tell that you achieved something, and then you don't celebrate the achievement, or if you don't, indulge yourself and say, look what we just accomplished, and you're not fulfilled from achieving that goal, then why did we just do this process, right? And so I think that correlation between mental health and achieving goals goes hand in hand. And so what I would tell Star 6105 is, create yourself to where, and I'm a big believer in short-term, medium, and long-term goals, because your brain needs the dopamine of the ability to say, hey, I achieved this, right? So it could be setting up short-term goals that lead into the middle goals that lead into the long-term goals. But your short-term goal could be getting up an hour earlier 5 days a week, getting in the gym 3 days a week, going on a grateful walk every day of the week. Those are short-term goals that can hopefully lead you to a medium goal that may be being more productive at work, or maybe closing one more transaction this quarter, or whatever it may be, which will then lead to your long-term goal of, hey, I want to close 12 transactions this year. Hey, I want to hit my quota of $100,000 recruited, or whatever it may be. But I think where people go wrong, in my opinion, is they get so fixated on the long-term goal that they allow the 12 months getting there to really bog them down, and to really begin to almost kind of be like a depressant, because listen, life is hard enough. If you guys don't know that yet, life is hard enough. We do not need to make it harder on ourselves and kick us when we're down and doing all these things. So I would strongly urge, if you guys are struggling with motivation when it comes to achieving goals, or staying motivated or focused, change your goal structure. Change it to where you have a short-term, a medium, and a long-term goal. Because then once you achieve that short-term goal, you should feel success, right? Just because it's a small goal doesn't mean you can't be successful with it. And you should feel some type of accomplishment. So then hopefully that encouragement, and hopefully that will carry you on to do the middle goal. Then hopefully achieving that will then carry you on to the long-term goal. So that's what I would do. And I would make sure that you have those written down, have them around your house or in your planner, or doing something to where, you can see them every single day. So whenever you're working towards achieving it, you can have it. But that's a great question. All right, next question. Corey, do you have a particular philosophy, approach in managing and motivating salespeople? This is a great question. Not necessarily a particular philosophy. I say all the time that I think a great leader, or what I should say is, I think what defines a great leader is they can walk into a room with 10 people and they can figure out and almost memorize what motivates those 10 people differently. Because people motivate and are focused on things and all that extremely differently. If you haven't noticed that yet, you will in life. Not everybody wants to achieve the same goals. Not everybody wants to be a top producer, but also not everybody wants to, not everybody, or some people want to be the top producer, right? So your ability to motivate them in a way really is built on how they're wired. So I would say that what I do, what I think really well in our organization is, a great leader listens. You have to listen to the problem. You have to listen to the personality. You have to listen to what they're saying to really understand how you're going to motivate them, right? Because money's not always the motivator. Opportunity is not always the motivator. Comfortness is not always the motivator, but sometimes they're a mix together of all three, right? Or achieving goals, right? So I think, my philosophy is always, what does this person need from me? Right? Some people needs coaching. Some people needs encouragement. Some people, needs a slap on the back and say, hey, do it better, right? Some people just need somebody to know that they care. So that's my philosophy. I think good leaders can adapt and really be able to kind of have that structure of, hey, 10 different people. I'm going to motivate you guys 10 different ways because you guys are 10 different personalities and you react to 10 different things differently. So I think that's the biggest thing. So if you're a manager or if you're a leader or if you're somebody who leads a team and you're having a little bit of struggle with possibly connecting with certain people, it's more than likely because you guys are different personality types. They are probably not motivated by what motivates you, and vice versa. So you have to understand, you as the manager, you as the leader have to build it to where you build that connection with your teammate, because they are, at the end of the day, are looking to you for the next step. They're looking to you to stir that or to steer that ship in the direction. So connect with them on a more relatable basis and find out, what are their goals? What does motivate them? What brings them in the office every single day? And this is actually a perfect segue. I was hoping we could get to this tonight, and I'm so glad that we're doing this. I think if you're a leader, manager, broker, team lead, whatever you want to call it, you need to sit down with your team once a quarter, once a year, twice a year, whatever it's going to be, and you need to ask them what your team members, what their why is. And figuring out what that person's why is so important when it comes to motivating, because the why is, why are we working as hard as we are to accomplish this goal, right? What am I trying to achieve? What is going to make me feel that I am successful this year? And every single person's why is completely different. Most people, it's kids and being able to, be able to provide a lifestyle they want to accomplish. Some people, it's putting their kids through college. Maybe it's, for some people, it's going to college. Maybe it's, for some people, they want to take that dream vacation or they want to buy their dream car. But whatever your why is what usually dictates how successful you're going to be. So many young people don't ever think about that way. So if you're somebody who, number one, is a team lead or in management of any style, and you've never sat your team down and you've never asked them what their why is, why do they work as hard as they do? Why are they motivated? Why are they coming in? You need to do that immediately. But also, flip side, if you are a young person, either in high school, college, or even maybe just getting out of college or whatever, and you've never sat down and you never asked yourself what my why is, you need to do that. Because in our brokerage, we do it every single year, especially this time of year whenever we're business planning into the next year, because that's the way that I can motivate them, right? I mean, I can't motivate them to go out and sell more and more and more if their whys are not in line with what they're doing, right? So I would encourage you, and as you're going through, it'll tell you a lot about yourself. And I will tell you what I tell my agents: be as specific as possible, because it is very, very important for you to set the why, but also be as specific. Because if you just say, oh, I want to be successful, what does that mean? right? Success means 10 different things to 10 different people, right? Oh, I want to make a lot of money. Okay, what's a lot of money to you? A million, 10 million, 5 million, right? Everybody's different. But be as specific as possible when you're talking about your why, and I guarantee you you'll find out really quickly what motivates you. But great question though. Um, Next question. What was the one thing that helped you be successful? Wow. Um, that's a really good question. I don't know if there's necessarily any one thing. I think my work ethic and you know persistence, I would say, go a long way. I've always prided myself on being able to outwork anyone. So whenever I first moved to Jacksonville, I'll give you guys a quick story real quick. When I first moved to Jacksonville, I moved to a city. I was just getting cut out of the NFL. My agent at the time knew a trainer here in Jacksonville. And so he's like, hey, let's get you out of this cold weather. Let's get you down to Jacksonville, Florida. I have a trainer. We'll get you there for a couple of weeks. We're going to set some other NFL teams up, all this other stuff. So I moved to Jacksonville thinking I would be here for 2 weeks. Worked out with a bunch of NFL teams while I was here. Well, ended up obviously 2 weeks turned into a really long time, but I needed a job that I can create my own schedule because I still wanted to follow this dream, right, of being in the NFL. And I need to work out in the morning and then obviously make money in the afternoon because I was 23 years old living in a city. I didn't know a single person, right? And, so I got my real estate license. And within 6 months, I quit football and obviously focused on real estate full time. And within about another 6 months, I won Rookie of the Year in my entire office. And people always ask me, Corey, how at 23, knowing nobody in the entire city, did you become the Rookie of the Year in your office of 400 agents? And it's simply put, I just outworked everyone because I was working every single weekend, every single lead, hammering the phone for expireds, hammering the phone with this, almost to the point where people were giving me business because I would drive 45 minutes to go and show it, right? Or they were giving me leads because I was calling them 3 or 4 times until they told me either, Corey, yes, I'll go see that property with you, or Corey, stop calling me, right? So my work ethic has always been one that I think I've always prided myself on. And my persistence of follow-up has always been something that has really allowed me to get tremendous, I would say, success. So many people in every field of business take no for an answer and just say, okay, right? Or hear that they can't do something, or, oh, this can't be done, or no, I'm not going to join your team, or you can't do this. The thing is, people who are close to me know that if you tell me I can't do it, I'm going to go prove it to you that I can. And it's either going to kill me doing it because I'm going to be so driven to go and show you, or I'm going to figure out a way. And so I think my work ethic built with my persistence has led me to be very successful. And also I pride myself never being the smartest person in the room. I have some amazing friends. I have some very successful mentors, but I also have a great team around me that really allow me to do what I do well, but also I encourage them and empower them to do things that either I don't want to do or that I don't do well. And I think that's also a really big sign of a great leader is, are you a micromanager and you're micromanaging every single person doing every single little tiny tasks? Or do you empower your team to be successful with doing things that they are good at, right? So I think those are the two biggest things. But that's a great question. Let's see what else here we have. What have been some of the most memorable challenges of a last minute, what the F moments trying to close a transaction? That's a great question. We have had a couple crazy ones here lately where, maybe, I mean, obviously we always have the customary, the washer, the dryer, we're supposed to be included. Now they're not here. We have the refrigerator. We have all this, we've had crazy ones where people have ripped off TVs, all this. But I think the craziest thing that's came to my main thought process right away was about 4 months ago, we were selling this about 4 to 5. I don't want to give too many specifics, but $4 to $5 million house, which is a big number here in Northeast Florida. And we had the buy side. And inside the house, it was this 8,000 square foot, beautiful mansion. I actually wish I would have got a luxury property tour with it, but they had this beautiful chandelier flown in from Italy. It was custom made. I mean, it was gigantic. It probably weighed 800 or 900 pounds. Like, it was huge. Well, obviously the buyer loved it, right? For paying $4 to $5 million, they come in, they want the house, they want those things. Well, the seller never told anyone that they were planning to take that chandelier with them because it is a one of one, custom made from Italy, never going to be duplicated, never going to be done, whatever. So, as you can imagine, as we go through the final walkthrough, the chandelier is missing. And of course, our agent gets there early, says, WTF, where is this chandelier? I mean, this chandelier was huge as soon as you walked into the foyer in the atrium. And, obviously about 3 or 4 minutes later, the buyers walk in and absolute chaos breaks out because they were supposed to close and wire all the money, $4 to $5 million within the next 24 to 48 hours on closing. And they're walking in, and this probably easily $100,000 chandelier that they loved is now gone, empty, not replaced. So of course, our agent calls me. We have to get very involved. I called the listing agent's broker. Listing agent thought that she excluded it. Turns out she didn't. It was an absolute nightmare. It was crazy. Very obviously, anytime you get that $4 to $5 million buyer, you also have that $4 to $5 million seller. Both very powerful people. Both have attorneys. It got ugly very, very quickly. But I will say we did get the chandelier back installed. We had to extend closing, and it was absolute chaos for at least 48 hours because I don't know whose fault it was. I don't know if the seller did tell the agent. I don't know if the agent forgot to tell us. I don't know what happened, but the chandelier did get back installed, and I'm not really sure what the relationship is from the sellers to that listing agent, but I know our buyers are very, very excited to be in their house, and I know our agent is very excited that I had her back on that, and it could have got extremely very bad, but I'm glad it all worked out. But let's go to the next question here. Is being goal oriented important? Yeah, I mean, I think it's huge, right? I mean, I think you have to have goals in life to be able to feel some type of accomplishment, but also kind of like a source of like fulfillment, right? Like, what are we here for? Like, why are we on this earth? Why am I working this job? Why am I paying this money? What am I doing with my money? So on and so forth. And I think as human beings, we have to have the ability to have goals, but also have that fulfillment that we achieve those goals, right? And so I think being goal oriented is huge. Like, you have to have that. So that's why I always talk about like having short-term, medium, and long-term goals, because you have to be able to have something to shoot for. I don't care if it's even just getting out of bed before 8 a.m. or I don't care if it's, I want to get my homework done before 5 p.m. or whatever it may be. It's so important for you to have those goals so that you can just have fulfillment in life. So I would strongly urge you, if you have not set goals on a daily basis or weekly basis, start. If it's going to the gym 1 day a week, hey, not playing video games tonight, that could be a goal, right? Especially with today's generation. So, but yeah, definitely set it because it's really, really important as we go forward. Next question. How do we balance being hands-on with empowering your team to make decisions? Great question. So I think as a leader, like I talked about, you have to find people who can do things either that you don't want to do, or maybe you're not best at and they are good, right? So let's use, a marketing, for example. Like, let's say that you're a business owner and you're great at sales and you're great at people and you're great at customer service, but you just don't have the marketing side, maybe social media or maybe whatever it may be. So you got to figure out, you got to find someone who is specialized in marketing. Right. But you have to give them an idea and you say, hey, this is the brand. This is how we look. This is what I want to look like online. At the same time, if you're hiring the right person, give them freedom to be able to work within the confines of what your business is going to be, but also how you want to look. Right. You hire them for a reason. So believe in them. If you don't believe in them, then don't hire them. And I think that's where good quality leaders become great leaders, is you empower people the right way to be able to accomplish what they're put on this earth to do, right? Certain people are just very creative minded, very visual. Certain people are very customer minded and very, driven from communicating. So I would strongly urge you to, if you're going to be hiring people to obtain a role or to do something, highly encourage them to be able to do that. So hopefully that answers that. Well, let's go to the next question. What market trends do you see shaping up the next 12 to 24 months in residential real estate? Love this question. We actually are going through our 2026 projections, getting into obviously the end of this week, end of next week, as we start to kind of get into 2026. And I actually think that 2026 is going to be an amazing year for residential real estate. I mean, if you look at every single economist, from people who are way smarter than me, people who are published on Inman, real 360. I mean, every single place, even realtor.com and even NAR, the National Association of Realtors, have said that transactions are projected to be up 14% from 2025. So I need you guys to understand it. If you don't truly understand the real estate industry, which is fine, everything is supply and demand driven, right? So whenever you see COVID, so 2020 to 2022 happen, what happened is in the beginning of 2020, we had supply, very little demand, right? And then what happened? The world shut down in all these cities and all this stuff. And what happened, right? The supply went down because the demand skyrocketed, right? So the higher the demand in a market, the higher the prices are going to go. Because the more inventory in a market, the lower the prices typically will go, because there's more inventory for buyers to select from. Okay. So over the last, I would say from 2023 through the end of 2025, the market has started to sort of shift, right? Where, it's not all the way balanced yet, because supply isn't, where it was, in 2018, 2019. There's still a housing shortage inside of the United States, drastic one. You guys probably have heard the government talk about that, right? But what's happened now with interest rates going higher and tariffs and all these other things is the purchasing power for the buyers was at an all-time high. Like, when those rates are at 7, 6.9, all of that, it becomes very difficult to go and buy that property, right? I completely understand that. So what's happening is we're obviously starting to see lower interest rates, which has helped a ton. But we're starting to see that now we have supply up here and we have demand a little bit lower. But I think finishing quarter 4 and going into quarter 1 right now, we're going to start to see this. We're going to see supply come back, and we're going to supply come down and demand come up, because we're going to see buyers come into the marketplace that have been waiting for over a year to buy their property. We're going to see sellers cut their prices a little bit because they're sick and tired of being on the market, right? And what's going to naturally happen, if in fact transactions go up 10%, which is what, like I said, everybody's saying, what's going to naturally happen is you're going to create more demand and less supply. And so I think residential real estate is going to be an amazing investment, and now through 2026, because you don't want to get it to where it was in 2020 and 2021, where you're paying, $50,000 above asking, because it's a negotiation battle. But I think it's going to be awesome. I think 2026 is gearing up to be a great, great year for a lot of reasons, and I'm very excited to be that. So stay tuned to obviously next week, and obviously a lot more as we go forward, and we'll dive a lot into the market as we go forward from there. Let's go through some next questions too. What are new technologies do you think will have the biggest impact on real estate success in the next 5 years? Great question. I mean, I would be completely wrong if I didn't just say AI, right? I mean, AI has completely changed the world, let alone any customer facing industry. With ChatGPT and different things today, you don't even really need a CPA, right? You don't even really need an attorney. You don't even really need some of these things. You can put it in and draft it, and there's different things you can have on programs on ChatGPT, and they can say, hey, this is what it is, or they can analyze this. It's actually funny because I was looking at an article today, and it said that a man uploaded his x-ray into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT found something on his x-ray that his doctor didn't find, which is like insane. So if we don't think that AI is going to come into the industry of real estate, we're wrong, right? And it's already here. I mean, our brokerage is already using it. It's already integrated. I mean, we're getting ready to launch an application, a CRM, which is a client relationships management system, with our brokerage here in January, where you literally can talk into it and say, hey, Lucy, I want to create a just listed postcard for 123 Main Street for social media, and also a post and also on my Instagram account. Do it. And within 10 seconds, it's done. It's sent to you. It's on your phone. All you got to do is upload it. So AI is here, right? And so it's going to be interesting to see how does it affect or replace agents. I don't think it ever will in the luxury market where we are, or I don't think it ever will whenever, we're talking about the masses of people are still going to want to deal with a human being, right? But what it's happening is it's making hopefully agents and brokerages more efficient. And if you haven't started using AI in your business, maybe that's a good topic for us on a later Tuesday, because I think there's a lot of resources out there that are awesome. And so I would hope and encourage you guys that you guys have already started to use AI, but just be careful with it because sometimes it's pretty chaotic. But great question though. What are some key habits or strategies contribute most to my success? Great question. I think key habits are just persistence, right, and work ethic. I mean, my dad used to tell me all the time, there's a few things in life you can actually control, right? You can control your attitude, you can control if you show up on time, and you control if you show up attentively, right? And so if you do those things in most sales jobs, right? Most sales jobs, if you answer the phone when it rings, if you return phone calls when you need to, if you're diligent with time, if you're good with customer service, if you're a good person and treat people the right way, and you have a value proposition that you're either selling or trying to get from somebody, more than likely you're going to be successful, right? It's whenever people are terrible with communication or terrible with customer service or terrible with whatever field that you're trying to do. That's really whenever you go into having a lot of issues, to be honest with you. But that's a good question. Next question: how do you balance risk and return when you're deciding whether to open a new satellite office or expand a new submarket? This is an awesome question because we're actually in the process now of potentially opening a new location within the next 4 to 5 months down in St. Augustine, which is just south of where I'm located now. But it's a great feeder market for us, and we've been selling in that market for a number of years. But one of the reasons we transitioned to Christie's International Real Estate is because I wanted that territory so bad. So we are going to be opening there, just a matter of time. But how we kind of begin to, does it make sense? Does it not make sense? When do we pull the trigger? Whatever. Number one is, I think the most important is location, right? Depending on your industry, location matters more than anything and you have to have the patience to find the right location. Because if I just open an office in St. Augustine just to have an office there, that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean anything, right? Because if the office isn't is it up to par to our brand standards, or if it's not a great location, our agents aren't going to come in, which means our clients are not going to come in. So it's just the standing space collecting rent for no reason. So I think you have to be patient and you have to make sure that what you want is available, right? That's the first and foremost. But number two is, does it make financial sense? And so whenever I'm opening a new office for real estate, is I really want to have 5 to 10 office agents at least that is now going to be their home office, because I want to open it and I want day one people in the door, right? And I think that's really, really important. Now, it could be somewhere where, is it new agents that come in, preferably, right? Because you don't really want to rob Peter to pay Paul, taking one agent from your office that's already built versus going to another one that's just going to double your expenses. You don't really want to do that. But at the same time, you want to have somewhere that is going to help you and allow you to recruit, help you and allow you to get new business from clients, but also be somewhere that is going to be seen. That's where the location comes in. But also, does it make the most sense? Because, you can have the best location, but if it's going to cost you $25,000 a month, probably not worth it in the real estate world, right? So you have to make sure it makes sense. But there's a lot of math that goes into it. But at the end of the day, it's about location, and it's about getting agents or in the door that start making you new business is the biggest thing. But let's go to the next question. Do you enjoy working more with investors or owner, user, home buyers? Do you plan to invest yourself? I've always loved working with home buyers, to be honest with you. Investors can be a little bit difficult because, the one thing that is a love and also hate of real estate is it's an emotional sale. It's an emotional purchase. 99.9% of people, this is going to be your biggest investment of your entire life, right? Either buying or even selling your property. So there's emotion that goes into it. You walk into it and you think, this is the house for me. I got to have it, right? I actually love that emotion because I like working with buyers who are very passionate about what they want. But also the flip side, I also hate that emotion because whenever they don't get it, guess who they blame? Or if things don't go right, or whatever else, it becomes difficult. But in my opinion, the good outweighs the bad in that scenario. And I really enjoy working with actual, real estate owners. Investors, it's just a number to them more than likely. So there's not really emotion to it, which obviously has its pros and cons as well. But at the end of the day, they are more looking at the financial statements of that investment property. And does this make sense? Does it not make sense? Okay, I don't want it, or yes, I do want it. And I only want it at this number. And for me, I've done a lot of investing on my own, and I've played both parts of that. So whenever I work with an investor, I can tell them about ROI and rent roll and all these things because I have it myself. And so it's good to have both experience, I think. Next question. What was the biggest challenge transitioning from a producer into a leadership role? A lot. Number one, I think the biggest challenge was, now your time doesn't belong to you. A lot of people get into real estate because you want to create your own schedule. You want to be your own boss. You want to be able to control how hard you work towards something and how much money you make on something, right? But whenever you're in a leadership role, that no longer belong to you, right? You now work for the entity or the brokerage or whatever. The brokerage has hours, right? 9:30 to 5:30, Monday through Friday. And you were there, and you're there to operate, and you're there to manage, and you're there to recruit, and you're there to do everything that they need. Agents are out there selling and bringing money into the door, but it's your job to keep the lights open. And it took me about a year when we first opened back in 2018 to really kind of grasp that, because like I said, I mean, I got into real estate at 23. I opened my first brokerage at 27 years old. And I didn't really have like corporate experience, or I'd never been a broker before or whatever else. And so kind of like coming into the office every day and being required to be places, and people were like reporting to me, and then me being like responsible for how they're doing and payroll and keeping the lights on and all that. It was a hard adjustment. So, and I talk to people all the time about, hey, people are like, I want to open my own brokerage today. I'm like, why? For what? You're making so much money selling real estate. Why would you ever want to go and take a pay cut and be in leadership? For what? I promise you, it's not what you think it is. And so I have that conversation quite a lot. So I'm glad that you asked that. Next question. What leadership behaviors are you working to improve right now? I mean, I think for me, I think I'm always evolving, right? I think a good leader is somebody who is always looking to change and learn and listen more deep, and also kind of reflect on what they do and how they've handled different situations. There's so many things that have happened, especially in the last 6 months, that I know I could have handled differently, either in a good way or a bad way, or both. And, I think nobody's perfect and everybody makes mistakes, and kind of sometimes how you handle a situation versus how you should have handled a situation could be seen as a mistake. So I think for me, what I'm trying to really focus on is always trying to be in tune with who I am, and trying to be the best listener and best person, but also best leader that I can be. And like I said before, 10 different people need 10 different things from a leadership role. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm just constantly trying to, iron that out. And so that I can be the best leader to all 10 people, which is very difficult to do, because those 10 people are going to look to you to describe things 10 different ways, to lead 10 different ways, to go through and say, Corey, I wish you would have done this first, this. And, we're always evolving. And I think for me, the more people that I'm around, the more personalities I'm around, the more people that, I connect with and all that, is really how my leadership, I think, is going to continue to evolve. And obviously just by investing in myself with reading and podcasts and books and those type of things, I think those are really important. All right. Doctors who use AI will be left behind. Thank you. Yeah, we'll see about that. Yeah. I mean, AI is definitely coming. But with 2025 coming to an end, what is a personal or financial goal you have set for yourself in 2026? So I think for me, I'll get to you. I'll show you, or I'll tell you about one of my goals. So I'll give you guys a backtrack. When we first opened my brokerage in 2018, I wanted to do 300 million in production as fast as possible, which seems like a gigantic number, and it is. And because we were a startup, I had never been a broker before. We had 0 agents, and I really gave myself 3 years to accomplish this goal. And I did everything in 3-year increments. So my first lease, With my space, a 3-year lease. My first lease with Comcast Business, 3 years. My first lease with my printer, 3 years. And everything I did, I said to myself, I was 27 at the time, I can go back into selling at 30 and I'll be okay with it. I'm going to give myself 3 years to accomplish everything that I want to do. And if I can look back and say it didn't work, no problem. I can deal with that. But I told myself I want to get to 300 million. Well, we did that in about a year and a half. And it was, we got to a point where we were at 300 million and we said, okay, well, now what? Right. And then we said, okay, let's do 500 million. So here we are. We accomplished that in about about a year and a half, 2 years. So here we are almost 3.5 years into this, or 3 years into this thing. And we've already accomplished all these goals. We're already at 500 million. Now what do we want to do? Like, now what's so outlandish that we don't think we can get there? And I remember in 2020 and 2021, going into 2021, we set the goal of doing $1 billion in sales. And yes, as with a B, $1 billion in sales in a city like Jacksonville, whose the average sales price is around $425,000. That's a lot of transactions over 12 months. That is a lot of production, right? People say $1 billion in like LA and it could be, 300 houses or something. But, $1 billion in a city like Jacksonville is about 1,500 to 1,700 transactions over 12 months. So I said to our team and everything else, that's our goal, right? I don't care how long it takes us. That's our goal. And last year in 2024 was our greatest year ever. We missed $1 billion by 11 million. It was almost depressing because we were so close and I thought we were going to get there, and we had a couple deals fall through at the end and this and that and whatever. And then so I said, you know what? No problem. We're going to do it this year in 2025. Well, I knew after the first quarter, unfortunately, we were not going to get it in 2025. We're going to be very, very close once again, but I think we're going to be either right at or just below where we were last year, which is still an amazing year, but we're still not quite there yet. So my focus in 2026 is to get to $1 billion in sales. That is my number one focus as a company. That's my number one focus as an organization. And once we can accomplish that, then we can look at different goals that we want to do financially and whatever else. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said before, we have a ton of short-term, medium goals, and that is our long-term goal, because there's a lot of things that we have to do, from recruiting to retention to culture, to get to that big goal, right? But that is our goal. Like, we will accomplish that in 2026. I wholeheartedly believe that, because not for a lot of reasons, but also with hopefully the market coming back and all those things, it's going to continue to be able to do that. But great question. What's your best advice when it comes to scaling your business? That's a good one. I could probably do an entire hour on that, and maybe that's a topic we come up back next Tuesday. But I think when it comes to scaling your business, you can't wear every hat, right? You can't be the owner, the sales manager, the marketing director, the operations person, the cleaner, the door manager. Like, you can't do everything, right? If you're looking to scale, then you have to look truly in the mirror and say, what do I do well? I'm a great closer. I'm a great follow-upper. I'm a great customer service person. I'm a great this, but I lack in X. I lack in Y. And then you, as the business owner, need to go and hire X and Y to allow you to be 2 places at once, 3 places at once, even sometimes 4 places at once. Because I can promise you, if you try and do it yourself, you will either burn out because you're so working 80 hours a week and doing all these things and you're killing yourself, or you're just going to say, you know what? My goals have changed. I don't want to accomplish anymore because I don't think it's realistic, right? So if you're looking to truly scale your business, you need to look at what deficiencies do you have, but also look at your competition, right? Who are you going after? Who are you trying to gain market share from? Who are you looking to, go out and say, hey, I want to be this company? I talk to real estate brokerages all over the country. And one of the first things I ask them before they ever talk to me about broker leadership or culture or whatever, I say, give me your top 10 competitors and tell me everything you know about them. Right. And this can work in any field. It can work in insurance. It can work in title. It can work in, any type of med sales. It can work in chiropractic, anything. Who are your top 10 competitors? Find out what they do well, what they don't do well. And then you start to build your value proposition on what makes you different from them. Right. And once you start to kind of build in and you could say, hey, I know this person gives, 5 sessions for $100. Okay, maybe I'll undercut him and I'll do 5 sessions for $90 or whatever it is, right? How are they getting their clients? How are they marketing themselves? How do they look on social media? How do they do all these things? And you really start to look at and you say, here's my opportunity. Opportunity then has to have the scaling power to then be able to say, I'm going to pretty much put rocket fuel on our business by support, help, technology, AI, whatever it's going to be. But you're going to now have the resources to go out and seek what you want to do. But that's a great question, because I think that's a really big thing that people don't always understand is people, especially small business owners, which is majority of what America is, right? Small business owners, the average one, I think, has less than four employees, I think. And that's usually 4 or less people wearing 12 hats. That's so hard. And I understand, don't get me wrong, it's very expensive to go out and hire good help, but that's hopefully where you can find technology or AI or all of these things to kind of offset some of that. So that's going to be really good. Um, Next question. Let's see where we're at here. Also, what type of licensing do you need to start your own business? I mean, I think the biggest thing is it just depends on what type of business it's going to be, right? I mean, obviously, if you're going to do, something in medicine or something like that, you probably have to be board certified. If you're going to be, in real estate, I'm sure you have to have, your real estate license, right? Same thing for insurance. I think the biggest thing is understanding what your business wants to be. Now, if you just want to be e-commerce, like on Amazon or something, you probably just need LLC. And you probably just need a business entity, right? So I think it just depends on what you want to have. What strategies do you use to keep salespeople motivated? So that's a good question, because I mean, I think the biggest thing is you have to understand what motivates them, right? 90% of people, money talks, right? So a high commission structure, or being able to give them what you would consider an unattainable goal, but a very high price to a reward to achieve that goal, right? But I think, like I said numerous times tonight, if a good leader will understand what motivates that person, because they could be, not every salesperson is the same. A lot of salespeople are high D personalities, and high D personalities don't always mix well with this person or this person. Some people are high I's or high S, right? You have to understand. And so if you are in leadership and you're looking at what motivates somebody, I would strongly urge you to give them the DISC test, DISC, because that will show you and tell you what their motivations are, what their weaknesses are, what their fears are, but also it'll tell you how they relate to people, how they connect with people, especially under pressure. So you can buy those tests online. They're like $100 or something like that. And it's a great thing for your leadership team to do, but also your employees. It's a great thing. What book are you reading currently? Great question. I actually have a couple ones on my ebook. I'm reading How to Get Monetized on YouTube. That's a good one. And a lot of you guys know I went through a loss with my father in June 1st. And so I'm reading How to Deal with Grief every single day. So a lot of different books I go back and forth with. I've always got, right now I'm also reading the Mel Robbins Let Them. I think that's something that leadership people all around, no matter what genre you're in, no matter what industry you're in, you should read that book. Because if you're doing business personally, which all of you should be, because you want to do business with people that you enjoy and that you like, you're going to be let down in life. There's going to be people who show you their true colors and maybe not care as much as you think that they should, or whatever else. And this whole philosophy on, what? People are going to show you who they are. Let them. People want to leave your life. Let them. And it changes your whole entire philosophy on how you view different things. So that book is literally called Let Them Theory, and it's by Mel Robbins. It's a great one. What is your long-term goal for the Success Playbook broadcast? I think on Tuesday nights, I just want to be a resource, right? If we can grow this to where we eventually will have guest speakers, great. That's awesome. But if we can start dialing into more business and Q&A, and maybe we get people on that talks about a new business they're looking to launch. But honestly, I just want to be a resource for people who are in either at a pivotal transition inside their life, or maybe they're looking for the next step that they want to take, or whatever else. I think for me, the podcast and the broadcast, these lives are two separate things, right? But they can also go in together, because everything is going to be built around success, hearing from other successful people and what they do in different situations. We probably have about 10 minutes left here. Uh, how do you feel you have the ability to learn and grow with Christie's? Awesome question. I mean, I think Christie's, just the support that I have from their CEO, their president, their whole entire C-suite, the whole entire organization has been absolutely second to none. But also, where they are positioned in real estate in 2026 really matters. I think they are the best luxury brokerage in the entire world, one of the biggest international global firms in the entire world. So we have a network, we have technology, we have a service and a system that is proven to really help our advisors, but also help me as the business leader grow. So I have one of the largest territories in all of Florida, spanning from St. Simons Island, Georgia, all the way to Deep Flagler Beach. So it allows me more room to grow too. But I think the ability to call up their CEO, their president, look for guidance and say, what do you guys think about this? What do you think about that? But also just knowing I'm supported, I think that's such a big thing. And if you're an employee at a job, or maybe you even are a manager and you're a sales manager or a C-level executive, and maybe it matters to us how the CEO or how our manager or how our boss supports us, right? That really, really matters. And so for me, I think knowing that they have my back and knowing that they are here with me through everything is invaluable for me. Best TV show that accurately depicts the high-end real estate business. I think right now, to be honest with you, I think Owning Manhattan season 2 with Ryan Serhant, I actually think is pretty good. A lot of the shows are so scripted, and you can tell, and a lot of it has no actual drama in it, or maybe too much drama, right? But I think Owning Manhattan season 2, I think brings in a lot of the reality, because let's be honest, every real estate industry right now is a reality show in its own way. But also mixes in like real life stuff. Like those are real feelings that Ryan is feeling, trying to scale his business. Those are real deals they're negotiating. So if you haven't seen it yet, it's on Netflix. What's your best advice for new entrepreneurs? Great question. I think the biggest thing for new entrepreneurs is, what are you trying to accomplish, and what does success mean to you? And because everything stems from those two things. Because if you're a brand new entrepreneur, right, and I'm going to launch an e-commerce business, and I want to go, and success to me means I'm going to do $1 million my first year, well, then we're going to have a tough conversation, because that's probably not realistic, right? But setting realistic expectations based off what you want to succeed is everything as an entrepreneur. And I would tell you, the thing I think is most important in an entrepreneur's life is the belief in yourself. Because as an entrepreneur, nobody is ever going to care more about your business than you do. And no one is ever going to put in the time, energy, and effort the way that you are going to do. So if you are not 1000% in this, you are going to be challenged every single day. Because like I've talked about in my last vlog, the 3 S's, right? In life, everybody has them. It's either you realize it or you don't. It's sacrifice, stress, and success. And everybody wants one of them, but you can't have one without the other two. And entrepreneurship is, I always joke, if you want an analogy for entrepreneurship, it is the guy who shovels elephant shit at the circus, because that guy is there every day. And the elephant is the biggest thing at the circus. And everybody's coming to see the elephant. They want him clean. They want him ready. They want him doing everything. But nobody ever asked the guy who shovels the what how he's doing. Does he need help? How's he feeling today? That is entrepreneurship. Nobody cares if you're tired. Nobody cares if you don't want to do it anymore. Nobody cares about your problems. They want your product, right? And that is, you have to be 1000% in on that before you can ever begin to start your own business. So I think that's a great thing. Question, is it hard to stop and smell the roses to your success? Yes, absolutely. It always has been. And to be honest with you, it probably always will be. I've really tried to focus over the last 4 to 5 to 6 months about, really appreciating the process and the result. Because like I said earlier tonight, if you guys get through all of this and you obtain the goal that you want, if you're not actually appreciative or don't enjoy it, then why did you just sacrifice so much to go and do these things, right? And so I think I've been better at that. I think I always joke with my family that it's a very blessing and a curse because my competitive nature allows me to go and outwork everybody, right? And allows me to have a singular focus on what I want to accomplish. But also it's a curse because it doesn't always allow you to appreciate those things, right? And so I'm working on it. I promise. So hopefully this podcast and this stream will kind of help me do that. Um, sorry, real estate licensing. Okay, it says if you're an NBA fan, Corey, LeBron James has requested a trade. Update New York Knicks for the Jalen Brunson. I don't know if that's real or not, but if that is, that would be awesome because I'm actually a Knicks fan, so I would love to see LeBron James in there. That'd be awesome. Is it hard to balance business and personal? Yes, in a way, and only because I'm a big believer in the Jeff Bezos way of doing business, where business is personal, right? And I think for me, I pride myself on doing business with people that I like and people that I want to do business with. And so whenever they either get mad at me or they leave my firm or something happens, of course it's going to affect me, right? And I understand it's not business, it's just personal, or it's not personal, it's just business, the whole methodology behind that. And I think I've been better at it. But like I said before, I want to do business with people that I like. I want to do business with people who wants to do business with me. So if there's ever a point in time where people don't want to do that anymore, then go, right? But at the same time, like, yeah, I think you always have to draw the line of yes, it is just it is just business. It's not personal. And I think it also goes back to a very important topic, which hopefully we'll get to next week, is opportunity, right? Everybody's going to have to be able to seek their own opportunities in life. And I'm never one that's going to say, hey, you shouldn't go and do this, right? Now, I may tell you as your friend, you shouldn't go and do it because I know it's a bad decision. And here's the reasons why. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't at least explore what that opportunity looks like. And so I think if it comes to pushing time, and it's happened to me several times in the past where one of my agents will come to me and say, hey, Corey, I'm going to leave and go to this brokerage. I can try to talk him out as much as I like. But at the end of the day, they're the ones who have to live with that decision. They're the ones who have to say, I'm doing this for me and my family, right? And only they know what is best for them. And I think that kind of goes into the let them theory, right? And that's why I'm really trying to really focus on if people want to do that, then let them, right? And not let it affect my relationship or how we do business together or whatever else from there. Let's go here. Let's see here. Okay, awesome. So I think we're going to wrap it up. I'll go ahead and just give my closer real quick. I appreciate you guys being here. This was awesome. Hopefully you guys really appreciated it. As we wrap up, I want to sincerely just send you guys a thank you for being here. We're going to do this every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. live on our channel. And the Success Playbook was created to be a place for thoughtful discussion around growth, leadership, and building something meaningful without the noise and just without the hype. It's just here for you guys to be. So I really appreciate your guys' Q&A. If tonight was added value for you, please continue to come back on our stream on Tuesday nights. Subscribe to our channel. We have so many amazing things coming, from vlogs, luxury property tours, to podcasts. And I love for you guys to be a part of it. So thank you guys for being here tonight. This stream was recorded and it'll be up on my channel. If you want to go back and watch it at a later date, it'll be here for you. But that concludes our first night. Thank you guys.